Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Yahweh's Farm. Tonight is Cooking Tuesday. We're going to be talking about okra, dehydration, and pickling. I'm here with Diana Padilla, and just say hi.
Hello, everybody. This is pretty exciting, all this new technology. Now, the cooking isn't new technology. It's old stuff, but we're probably to some of you guys, it'll be new.
And we'll be here answering all your questions, so make sure to leave them there in the chat. We are streaming across all major platforms, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And as you can see on the screen, the chat is right there live for everyone to see the conversation.
So at the end of the season for okra was a couple of weeks ago, and it's starting to get too cold for my okra plants. But because of the things that we do here on the farm, we have okra for a little longer than the season. So we put together some different ideas so that you can think about when you grow okra, and you can save it for off season so that you're not waiting at least 8 more months before you get okra again. So today we're going to do some drying of okra. We're going to put it in the dehydrator, but you can do this in the oven. And sometimes if it's hot enough here in the valley, you probably can do it outside. And then we're going to pickle some, and there's different kinds of recipes that you can do. These are fresh okras that we just harvested. You want to pick the ones that are kind of, for the dehydrating, it doesn't matter. You can do a little bigger. For the pickling, I like to do the smaller ones. So you're just going to chop them, kind of keep them the same size so that they dehydrate at the same time. So you just take all your okra. In this case, each one of the bags that I did was about 3/4 of a pound, which when they dry, it's almost nothing.
They look almost like jalapenos.
They sure do.
But what do they taste like?
Well, if you saute them, they're a little slimy, but if you dry them, they're not. They remind me of croutons. And for those people who don't want to do bread, this is a really good alternative for your salads. You can dehydrate them, put some salt and pepper, and put it on your salad for something crispy and crunchy.
And you're discarding the stems?
Yes. You only want to use the okra itself, not the stems.
Okay. And the seeds, there's nothing wrong with eating the seeds?
No, when you dehydrate them, they you don't even know they have seeds, because none of these are really when they're too big, you'll see the seeds, but these are still young. It's still tender.
And does the okra change colors?
When it dehydrates, it's a little darker green, but there are other kinds of colors, like there's the red okra. I think they call it the Indian okra. I'm not sure if that's correct, but we grow both. We grow the red and the green. Most of the time in New Mexico, they grow the green okra. A lot of people here in the valley know it as bombo. It's actually it likes heat, so it's a summer vegetable. Hot weather, not heat. Hot weather.
And what about if it's hot and humid?
It likes hot and humid. Okra, you put a little bit of water in the summertime. Water it enough, you're gonna get a lot of okra. That's why some of these ideas are really good for people who like to grow okra, because when you grow okra, you get a lot of okra. Every 3 days you have to harvest.
Wow.
So the okra was chopped into like maybe 1/8 of an inch. And so I'm gonna put a little bit of salt on the okra before I dehydrate it. You don't have to if you don't want to use salt. After I did this, I thought, it would be really good to put garlic powder or peppers or even hot peppers. I tried some with the natural, the yeast, nutritional yeast, and I liked it a lot.
And I heard nutritional yeast like a cheesy flavor.
Yeah, it does. It gives it a little cheesy flavor. A lot of people use it on the kale chips too. So I have a dehydrator. It's not a really big commercial one, but it's probably the Hunter's version of it. And I just put it on trays on on parchment paper, and then I dehydrate it for about 2 hours. Actually, no, it was 4 hours.
And what's the temperature that you dehydrate at?
It was medium to high heat. I didn't look at the number.
Snack time.
Yeah. So this is one that I put salt and a little bit of pepper, and I decided, this is a really good idea to use it as a snack. Oh, I put the yeast on this one.
Nice. And now onto the pickling of okra.
So, okay, you don't have a dehydrator and you don't want to turn on the oven for that length of time. You can always do a pickling with apple cider vinegar. You're going to need some garlic, some kosher salt. I put a little bit of mustard seeds and pepper. And I put a little bit of, also a little bit of hot peppers in this one. Just a little bit to give it a kind of a spice.
Is it like dill pickle? 8-Bit Rich says?
Yeah, it's like a little dill pickling. But instead, I didn't put dill in this one though.
So this one's going to be spicy?
Yeah, it's got more spice in it. More spice and garlic.
Does it matter how you chop up the garlic?
I like to chop it a little bit coarse, but you can do it smaller if you want. It's gonna boil when you pressure can it. So it really doesn't matter the size of it. You can even do half if you want it. If you really don't like to find garlic pieces in anything, you just cut it in half. Oh, I put some whole black pepper. And that's about 3 teaspoons. Celery seeds. Maybe a half a teaspoon of celery seeds. And I want you to know that it was 3 teaspoons of everything, except for I already had put it in the container. So I'm just gonna pretend for you and count how many I put in there. But I'm learning on all this video stuff, and I have a habit of cooking and then forgetting that I'm gonna be doing a video. So I have to pretend for you, but we're gonna practice and make this perfect eventually. What I did was I did put all the ingredients in the vinegar to release all the flavors, and then you make the jars and you put all the fresh okra, and you do want to pack them in because when they cook, they're going to shrink.
Now, are you just simmering the solution, or are you going to boil it? Or
no, I'm just going to simmer it. Yes, I'm going to simmer it because it's going to cook again inside the jar.
Okay. So it's good to taste it and make sure that you like what it tastes like.
Yeah, you do want to taste it to make sure you have enough salt in there.
Hi,
so
Deanna.
I've watched hi Deanne. This is good for you because you told me you didn't like okra.
Yeah, I think okra's a kind of a new thing that's not very, or it's an old thing that, I don't know, it's got a bad stigma of sliminess.
Well, dehydrated, I really like it dehydrated. I'm not a fan of it in gumbo or in saute, but I am a fan of it dehydrated. It's my new fave.
Little snack.
Oh, I think I overdo it on snacks, so this is probably a healthy snack for me.
And the okra for pickling, does it matter the texture or softness or?
For pickling, no. You want to pick the smaller ones because they fit good in the jar, and also they're young. So, Deanna, I want you to know that this is okra, but we're going to be doing also kohlrabi and some other vegetables that we have in the bags. Since I really don't care for writing, this is going to be the best way for me to share with you, the members, on how to use some of those vegetables and give you good ideas, because it is a lot of vegetables and you have to figure out what to do with it sometimes when you get too many.
Mason jars.
You want to take the mason jars and sterilize them, even if you've used them before.
And what size are these? Are these like the quart?
These are the pints.
Pints. And how do you plan on sterilizing them?
You boil some water, and then you stick them in the water and twirl them around. Make sure that the hot water goes throughout the jar. And we're not videotaping, but I also stick the lids in as well.
And is the water boiling or it's just a hot water?
No, it's boiling. Yeah, you wanna get some tongs and the jars are pretty hot. You don't want to handle them. So you twirl them around so that all parts of the jars get into the hot water. And then you don't want the jars to crack, so you put them on a towel or something. You don't want to put it straight on the counter.
Oh, okay. So like if the counter is cold, then it...
Yeah, the cold and hot will make the jar crack. And then when it goes into the hot bath, it'll crack.
Good to know. And you can reuse these jars?
Oh, I love it. Yes, you can reuse the jars. The lids are the only things I always change when I'm gonna do some pickling or anything. That I don't reuse the lids unless I'm gonna use it for something that's not food purpose.
So right there, you broke off the bottom tip or the stem side?
I broke off the tip because it was kind of long and it was gonna go beyond. You want to do it a little bit lower than the rim or up to the rim, but not past the rim. You want to leave a little space in there.
And like how many do you think you can fit like in a jar?
You know, I didn't count, but I would say about 15 of them maybe, or 10. Let's see. Let's count them. 1.
That's 2.
It really depends on the size. If you get skinny ones, you're going to fit more. If you get fat ones, you're going to fit more. So you just want to make sure that I put some up and some down so that they pack the jar really well. The more you fit in, the better. And if you're going to sell it like I do, you want to give them the most possible. So you stuff it really well. I do want to say that when I did these jars, the recipe called for me putting the vinegar with the vegetables first and then stuffing the jars, and I did it backwards. But it turned out well because I guess the flavors got to go all over and not just on the bottom.
And you don't put that much liquid in there, just enough to fill?
It's about 3/4 of a cup of liquid. So I put the vinegar with the seasonings, but then I added a little bit of water as well because you want it to reach the top of the jar. Well, not the top. You leave a space of 3/4 of an inch from the top.
And is that to prevent it from like exploding or something?
Yeah, you
or-
need space for the water to, and I guess the oxygen to come out. I'm not an expert. I just like to save. We grow a lot of things here on the farm, and Saul is the farmer, and he really works hard. So I try to do as much as possible to maximize what we do with the vegetables, so that we don't lose, minimize the loss. So it actually works out. I get a lot of customers that they really don't want to cook. They just want to buy something that's already made. So off season, I sell a lot of these things. We're making spices. We're making our own spices, and we're jarring, and we're getting into a lot of different things here on the farm, so that when people come, they don't, they find something that they like.
And how much do you sell these for?
These go for $6 a jar.
Do you have any available right now in the store?
I made 12. I have about 5 left. Next year I'll start a little earlier. I didn't think about jarring them till almost the end of it, so we just jarred a few. And then the CSA started, and I have a few customers that really like it. So I'm only getting maybe 1.5 pounds a week, and I have requests for them, so it still works out.
And how long do they normally last once they're pickled?
You can keep the jars, if you keep them away from the sun, you can keep them for a year. Well, you probably can keep them for longer, but I wouldn't keep them more than a year.
And I saw that you put a big pot there. What's that for?
So right now we're preparing the big pot for the water bath. You want to get the water warm but not hot, enough so that it balances out the temperature of the jar with the temperature of the water in the pot. I will put it in there, and then the water will be maybe a few inches above the lid. So I'll have to use something to put it in the pot. And I have a tool that I use to, when the water gets too hot, for me to be putting the jars in the canner.
Nice. So you said the water in that big one is warm? It's not boiling hot?
It's gonna get hot. It'll be warm when I put the jars in, because the liquid in the jar is warm and the water is warm. And so you kind of match it up so that the glass doesn't get that shock. And then I'm gonna keep it in there for 15 minutes, so the water is gonna get boiling.
And have you ever tried using those blue mason jars? Does it make a difference?
I've never tried shaded jars. That's something new. They look pretty cool though. I've seen them. I have a customer that brought me some brown ones. We sometimes make soups and make special things for people, and she brought me some half-gallon brown jars, and I thought they were pretty cool looking.
I know I've seen a commercial where they talk about how the beer bottles are brown because they can't be exposed to sunlight, and the color helped.
Well, they don't really sell too many colored jars at the store. You probably would special order them, and then you'd end up charging too much for the
Packaging.
canning. Yeah, and people don't want to pay a lot. They want to pay the minimum as possible.
Yeah.
I have one customer that came back 3 times for a jar. She said that's the best pickled okra that she's had, and I was very happy.
Wow.
As you see, I can put the jars in because it's not super hot yet, but then I'm gonna end up getting something if it gets too hot for me to put it in without burning my fingers. When you tighten the jars, you tighten them and then you loosen it just a little bit because you want the air to come out of the jar.
And how much water is in there? Is it like covering the jar or?
It's almost to the top of the okra. Are you talking about the water in the pot? The water in the pot has to totally cover the jar. Now, in this case, my pickling container only held so many, and I don't have another lid for this canner. So what I did was, in between the pot and the bottom is a saucer-shaped metal where the jars are not touching the heat directly. And this jar, I didn't have another one that fit its size. So what I did was I put in some cloth on the bottom so that it was laying on the cloth and not on the pan. So this was my jars. I hope you really liked this. I hope it helped. You see the garlic on the jars and the seasoning is on the bottom. And according to my customers, they really liked it. So I did a good job. We're going to be doing other vegetables. I hope you follow me on Tuesdays for different ideas on all kinds of vegetables so that you know what's in season and how to use it. And if the season is ending, how to use your abundance and prepare it for off season. I hope you enjoyed this, and follow us, subscribe, do all those fancy things so that you get notified when we're on. Tomorrow we are doing a garden class. So it's Cooking Tuesday, Garden Wednesday. Thank you for watching.
Have a good evening. This was Yahweh's Farm, and we were doing Cooking Tuesday with Diana Padilla. Have a good night.
Good night. Good night, Deanne.